Restaurateurs, whether opening a fine dining city restaurant or a neighbourhood brasserie, will give as much thought today to the design of their new venue as they do to the menu and the hiring of staff. But how important is the look of a restaurant to its ultimate success as a business? This question was asked of a selected number of operators as they gathered at Chabray Bistro in London for Restaurant Magazine and Steelite's roundtable discussion on restaurant presentation. Following the debate, BigHospitality caught up with 3 members of the industry, each operating in a different area of the restaurant sector, to find out their thoughts on the subject.
First impressions are very, very important, and that comes down to decor of the restaurant, how it actually looks, feels, does it make the guests feel comfortable as soon as they go in, whether it's a bistro, brasserie, pub, fine dining restaurant, whatever it is guests need to feel comfortable as soon as they walk through the door, and decor does play a huge part of that.
From a customer's perspective, it's the first thing when they're walking through your door, the colours, the mood, the style, the tables, the chairs, whether you've got tablecloths or don't have tablecloths, if you've got display stations, your bar area, that's almost as important as a greeting from somebody at the door. It's the first thing that really hits you, so it's absolutely critical.
If the food and the service aren't up to scratch, it doesn't matter how well designed your restaurant is. So it's an element to building a good business and a good restaurant. But it all goes hand in hand with the service and the food, and ultimately the customer's dining experience and value for money.
It's key. It says a lot about who you are. For Côte, some of our tableware is fairly conservative. We'd like to think it's in good taste, not conservative as in boring, but just sort of elegant, refined. What we're really trying to do with Côte is create an atmosphere of a restaurant that may punch above its weight. So you could go into Côte, you could be very pleased with your dining experience, with the food that you get, the level of service, and it's all got personality, but it's not sort of conflicting. It all sort of comes together, and so our tableware reflects that. So we use Kilner jars, we use wooden boards inside our plates, so within the rims. We use little pots, jars, we use Le Creuset for our creme brulee. So there are all sorts of slightly added extra touches, but it all comes together, so it's not sort of contrasting or conflicting.
It's an element. Yes, it is important. It is important. If you've got a classic restaurant, your customers would like to be served their wine in a classic wine glass. You can't serve it in a tumbler, but restaurants at the cutting edge in Soho, they can get away with serving their wine in a tumbler because you're in that environment, you're in that hubbub where people would expect that. But you come away from the centre and you go into a more classic, more neighbourhood-led restaurant. The people wanted this service a bit more conservative. Again, it's a difficult one to straddle. I tell you what, if I could predict something, I wouldn't be here. I'd be in the Caribbean. But on a recent trip to Sweden, I saw some fantastic trends. I saw restaurant design that blew me away. I saw a restaurant, you walked in the door and you didn't see a chair. The chairs were tucked away under the table. And as the waiter drew the chair out, the chair opened up from under the table. It was fantastic. So yeah, I can see trends like that. Scandinavic, Icelandic stuff coming into restaurants. Even the food and the style of service, I can see that coming into restaurants in the UK.
Well, I think in the industry, outside the branded sector, I think we'll see continual progression into really unusual and interesting ideas. So bare tables, definitely. I see no tablecloths becoming more and more common, as much from practicality as anything else, but also you can show off different tables underneath. So going into a restaurant where you've got different tabletops might be quite interesting. More unusual ways of serving food. So maybe things that weren't designed to be either plates, which are being used for for serving food to aid presentation. That might be quite fun, but that's not probably it's definitely not what Côte is about.
I think the kind of tableware revolution that's happening in the last however many years it is, that started with El Bulli and Alinea and things like that, where people don't have to use cutlery, where you don't usually even use your hands. You know, it's encouraged to, specific dishes are designed around a bit of fun and a bit of a wow factor and a bit of something a little bit different, as opposed to your food comes and you eat it with a knife and fork. I think that's probably going to take off quite massively. I think there's always just bits and pieces that people are pushing forward for, something that's just people striving for it to be a little bit different. So it's interesting and exciting to see what's around the corner.